something that the Democrats keep bringing up time and time again. Elizabeth Warren's brought it up. Bernie's brought it up. What is that homosexual mayor? Buttigieg's brought it up. And that is that of a wealth tax. And they keep slipping it in here and there. The wealth tax. It's their excuse of how they're going to pay for things. You know, things like free college for everybody, free medical insurance for everybody, free child care for everybody, and free and free and free. I mean, the Democrats are just full of free. Thing is, it's not free, as anybody with any common sense would know. Anybody who would stop and think about it just for 10 seconds and do the math, they would realize that these things are not free. But when they're cornered, very rarely are they ever cornered by the media, but when they are cornered by the media and they're asked, well, how are you going to pay for that? Then they always come back and they say, well, with a wealth tax. Now, okay, so let's talk about a wealth tax, because they keep talking about this and a lot of people don't. They kind of mow over it and they don't really get into the nitty gritty of what this means. And so to talk about a wealth tax, we first have to talk about what happened in 1913 when the income tax, the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, was passed. Now, I would like to do a whole show on the whole income tax movement. Actually, the income tax started back in the 1860s, and then it was found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in the 1870s. I'll go through all of that on another show, because right now we just want to talk about the wealth tax. But I have to mention the 16th Amendment to the Constitution on the passage of the income tax. The way they passed, overall, I'm going to give you the broad picture. The way they passed the income tax was, first off, they had this progressive movement moving. The socialist, what I would say later on would be communist, but the socialist movement coming. But the way they passed it is they said, listen here, we're going to pass this income tax. And people say, oh, you're going to tax our income. No. Don't worry. We're not going to hit the common man. The common man's pocketbook is not going to be hurt at all by Uncle Sam. No, sirree, not at all. But what we're going to do is we're going to go after the top dogs, the big wheels, the robber barons. We're going to go after guys like J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie. But all of you other fellas, don't worry. Unless your name is one of them, you don't have a thing to worry about, and we're only going to hit them for 1% in a max of 3%. Let me see, I've got it right here. Congress readopted the income tax in 1913, levying a 1% tax on net personnel incomes of $3,000 with a 6% surtax on incomes above $500,000. By 1918, the top rate of the income tax was increased to 77%. On income over $1 million to finance World War I, the top margin rate was reduced to 58% in 1922 and 25% in 1925. And finally, to 24% in 1929. But in 1932, the top marginal tax rate was increased to 63% during the Great Depression and steadily increased. Now, notice in there, they passed the income tax amendment, and then when the Democrats were in, the taxes went up and up and up and up. And then the Republican in the 1920s, you started off with Harding, and then you went to Coolidge in 1923 after Harding died of his aneurysm. And then you had Hoover at the very last, who was elected in 1928 and took office in 1929. And so they lowered the income tax, and look at the economy. The economy boomed in the 1920s. But then after Roosevelt got in there, and the Great Depression happened, in which the Great Depression was not Hoover's fault and wasn't Coolidge's fault. Get into that on another show, but Roosevelt got in there. What did he do? He wanted to raise income taxes to fight the Great Depression. And then we had to raise income taxes in World War II to fight the Huns and the Japs. Back to 1913. We told everybody at that time, we said, all right, listen, we're not going to tax you at all. You're never going to pay any income tax. Probably, most likely, never. You're never going to pay any, but we're going to go hit the fat cats, Morgan, Carnegie, and Rockefeller. We're going to hit them for 1%. It's not even, they're not even going to feel it. And we're going to be able to bring in a lot more funding, and we're going to do all these wonderful things with it for everybody. It's going to make everybody's life wonderful. And, well, it's a great thing. And so everybody said, oh, so you're not going to hit my stuff. Okay, that's fine. Don't hit my stuff. I'm good with that. So then, as 1913, and so you get 33 years later, which is just a little over a generation. So what do? We got to pay for the war, boys. I mean, come on. You got to do your patriotic duty. And, you've done your patriotic duty for the country. You've given your son, your husband, your brother, your father, you fought for the war. You fought against the Japs and the Huns. We beat them, but we still gotta, you still gotta do your patriotic duty. Everybody's got to pay their fair share, like the Democrats like to do. Pay your fair share. And so that's what they do. And so they levied income tax on every Joe. Every guy up and down the street had to start paying income tax. You see, they lied to us. They told us in 1913 that don't worry about this, we're only going to hit the fat cats. But then by 1946, and I've still got my 1946 taxes, I can show you. By 1946, we had to pay income tax. And from then on, and after we paid for World War II, then we had to pay for the Korean War, and after that, we had to pay for the whole Cold War, and then we got the Vietnam thing, we got to pay for that, and it just goes on and on. We're never going to not pay income tax. In fact, all the generations that would remember not paying income tax, they're all dead now. So everybody alive today, we've been brainwashed to think, oh, we have to pay income tax because how's good we're going to function without income tax. So let me explain to you what a wealth tax is so that everybody understands. That means that the federal government, if they pass something like this, and this is why I'm bringing it to our attention, because we need to watch what the Democrats are saying, because this is in the works. And then I'm not saying it's going to pass tomorrow, but eventually at some point they're going to pass it. Let's not forget that it was actually the Republicans, I think, for the most part, they were working in the 1890s on the income tax. It finally passed in 1913. Within 10 or 20 years, they could pass this thing. And they just slowly creeping it in. So wealth tax, what it is, a wealth tax, also called a capital tax or equity tax, is a levy on the total value of the personal assets, including bank deposits, real estate assets, and insurance and pension plans, ownership of unincorporated businesses, financial securities, and personal trusts. Typically, liabilities, primarily mortgages and other loans, are deducted from an individual's wealth. Hence, it is sometimes called a net wealth tax. Some jurisdictions require declaration of taxpayers' balance sheets, assets and liabilities, and from that ask for a tax on net worth, assets minus liabilities, as a percentage of the net worth, or a percentage of the net worth exceeding the certain level. Wealth taxes can be limited to natural persons, or they can be extended to also cover legal persons such as corporations. Now you see, this is another way. See, they keep wanting to raise the corporate income tax. And this is another thing that I've got to mention real quick. The damn Democrats keep doing this. They say, well, we need to raise corporate taxes because these corporations aren't paying this and they're not paying that. Folks, let me tell you something. What happens when you raise corporate taxes? You're raising the expenses of that corporation. What does that corporation do to cover its costs? Let's just say that their transportation costs went up. What do they do? Now, I know this is a hard question, boys and girls. What do they do whenever they have a transportation cost that goes up? Do they just absorb it? No, they don't. They have to pass it along to the consumer. And that's what happens when you raise corporate taxes. They pass it along to the consumer. Or what they can do is they go overseas. If you raise the corporate tax enough, then they just go overseas. Therefore, they don't have to raise what they're charging their consumer. The media never challenges the Democrats on this. They always say, well, how are you going to pay for that? That's as far as they get. And then the Democrats will say, well, we need to raise these corporate taxes because these corporations, they're getting away with everything. And then they'll come back with this stupid wealth tax thing. See, a wealth tax thing is what's going to happen is that it's going to be just like the income tax. That's why I mentioned it. If they pass something like this, they say, no, don't worry. Just like they're saying now, don't worry. We're only going to hit the top 1%, and we're only going to hit them for a small amount. They won't even feel it. Why? They'll sleep right through it. It'll be, what is that thing I watched? It'll be no trouble at all. Barely an inconvenience.
A vat of mercury, and it has statue guards staring at it. Wow, so it's going to be hard to get this thing out. Actually, it's going to be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Oh, really?
All they have to do is pay a little bit of taxes, and we could all enjoy all these free things. We're going to be able to get free school and free food, free childcare and free medicine and free. Okay? But what will happen in the end is that it might take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I say not very long at all. All of a sudden, at some point in the future, you're going to have a couple of $100s in the bank. And somebody's going to say to you, your friend's going to say, hey, buddy, how much you got in the bank? Well, I got a couple of $100s in the bank. Well, how much taxes you going to pay on that $200? Oh, Yeah, you're right. I gotta make sure that I'm gonna have to probably draw out half of it to pay the damn wealth taxes on it, because that's what the Democrats will do. The Democrats will end up wealth taxing everybody from poverty all the way to your millionaires and billionaires, as Barney says. Okay? First off, wealth tax in its structural development, the way they have it now, is pretty much, I believe, unconstitutional. So they'd have to change the Constitution to get it passed. But I don't put it past them. Now, here's the thing. There are some countries out there that have tried this wealth tax thing, okay? And so, like all the time, the liberals always want to follow the model of the European countries. So here's a list of some of the countries that have tried it. If we want to be like these countries, let me know, and we can rush this through Congress and tell Donald Trump to sign it just as quick as we can. Argentina has tried it, and Canada, and France, and Spain, Netherlands, Norway, and Switzerland. Now, I can tell you right now, none of those countries are what I want to be. In fact, let me go a little bit further than that and tell you that there isn't any country that I want to be like. I want to be like the country Texas, because Texas is its own country. Another important part of this is the idea, and other countries have done this, the ones that I just mentioned, and that is they need to stop people from moving their money from their country and going to another country. So whenever they pass one of these things, there's always this vacuum of wealthy people say, well, you're not going to get my money, and they pack their grip and they get out of town. And so there's measures that they take, and so what could be passed by the Democrats is a one-time exit tax on high net worth individuals who renounce their citizenship and leave the country. I also want to tell you that it's against the Constitution, this whole wealth tax thing. Now, let me explain to you why. Current case law in the United States to hold that a wealth tax is a direct tax under Article 1, Section 9. Given the extreme difficulty of appropriating a wealth tax by state population, the implementation of a wealth tax in the United States would require either a constitutional amendment or the overturning of current case law. Unlike federal wealth taxes, states and localities are not bound by Article 1, Section 9, which is why they are able to levy taxes on real estate. In the 1796 Supreme Court decision of Halton versus United States, Supreme Court justices who had previously taken part in the creation of the U.S. Constitution unanimously rejected a challenge to the constitutionality of an annual tax on carriages, a tax akin to a national wealth tax in that it taxed a luxury property. However, Alexander Hamilton, who supported the carriage tax, told the Supreme Court that it was constitutional because it was an excise tax. Not a direct tax. Hamilton's brief defines direct taxes as capitation or poll tax, taxes on lands and buildings, general assessments, whether on the whole property of individuals or on their whole real or personal estate, which would include the wealth tax. Tax scholars have repeatedly noted that the critical difference between income taxes and wealth taxes, the realization requirement, is a matter of administrative convenience and not a constitutional requirement. An additional constitutional objection to such a tax could be raised by the grounds that it violates the Takings Clause of the Fifth Amendment, which prohibits the federal government from taking private property for public use without just compensation, which is covered under Article 1, Section 9. Unlike federal wealth taxes, states and localities are not bound by Article 1, Section 9, which is why they are able to levy taxes on real estate. So if you ever thought about it, why is it that your local county or your state can levy taxes on real estate, which I don't think that they should. I don't think, not necessarily according to the Constitution, I just don't think that they should in our state. I believe in extreme property rights. You own your property, and nobody, including the federal government, the state government, or the local government, can take it away from you. That's the kind of laws. And if we had those kind of laws, we would have definitely a secure United States. Anyway, I wanted to make this clear to you because all the Democrats, they keep talking about this wealth tax. And we need to watch out for it because the Democrats are slippery and they're slimy, and all they want to do is get into your pocketbook because the Democrats have become nothing but a communist Marxist party. I absolutely despise them. Although Bernie's like an old uncle. I do enjoy watching him on TV. I know that he'll never, ever become president of the United States. There can only be one true great president of the United States, and that is my man Trump, the president. There you go, Trump. Stand right there in front of Bernie. That's where he belongs. So until next time, take care of yourself. This is BarbWire Strategy, bringing you an ordinary man's extraordinary point of view. Thank you and good night. Hey, say good night, Bernie. Wealth tax. Yeah. He'll never go for it. Hey, if you enjoyed the show, you should watch all of my other shows. I got a whole lineup of shows of BarbWire Strategy where we talk about an ordinary man's extraordinary point of view here on BarbWire Strategy. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. I really need you to subscribe. Subscribers are harder to come by than hen's teeth. So help me and the Donald out by subscribing and liking. And watch often. And stay tuned for my next show on BarbWire Strategy. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again. We'll see you later.